Once upon a time, there was a great debate about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which was deemed a living wage a few years ago. However, after COVID wrecked the country and caused massive levels of inflation, how far does $15 an hour actually go today? I happen to live in rural America, which is cheaper than urban areas by quite a bit. So, without further ado, let's see if $15 an hour is still enough for a single person to live comfortably in a cheap part of the country. To start, let's gather how much this actually amounts to monthly. $15 an hour times 40 hours is $600 per week. Since there are 52 weeks in a year, this brings us to $31,200 per year. For an individual making this much money, according to Grok, their annual federal tax burden would be approximately $1,760 for the 2025 year. This same individual would owe $2,387 in Social Security and Medicare taxes, $958 in Pennsylvania state income taxes, and $312 in local taxes. Add these all together and we arrive at $5,444 in total taxes. When we subtract this to the $31,200 of gross earnings, this employee is left with just $25,756, which amounts to $2,146 each month when divided by 12. Now, let's see how the expenses line up for this lad. Apparently, the average amount a single employee in the United States pays for an individual health insurance plan through their employer is $119 per month. This brings us to just $2,027 left over. The cheapest rent I could find in the area on Zillow came in at $775 per month for a 685 square foot apartment. Fortunately, the tenant covers water and sewer at this place, meaning the tenant only has to pay for electric and gas. From what I could find, an average electric bill for one individual serviced by Penelect would run around $140 per month. As far as natural gas, the average monthly cost, if you do a budget plan for an apartment this size, serviced by the provider for gas in the area, comes in around $80 per month. When we add rent, electric, and gas, we arrive at $995 per month, which brings our remaining monthly budget down to $1,032. Per the FDA, a moderate grocery budget in the United States for an adult male is $445 per month, and a low-cost plan is $320 to $350 per month. We will use the middle figure of $350 for this example and assume this individual does not eat out at all. Therefore, after groceries, the individual has $682 left. Since rural America often has poor public transportation, this individual would need to own a car. Since this individual is young, their credit score is likely not yet established, meaning they will pay a higher interest rate and be considered subprime. In the current car market, $12,000 is likely around what someone would pay for a reliable, older, higher mileage car. Therefore, using the below chart, we are going to assume between the optimistic and realistic scenario and go with $275 per month as the car payment. And since this car is not paid off, this individual will be required to have full coverage on the vehicle, which appears to come in right around at $250 per month. Therefore, with both a monthly car payment and insurance costs, this individual will be spending around $525 per month for their vehicle, which leaves $157. And for the sake of simplifying things, we will assume $100 per month for gasoline, which leans on the conservative edge. Therefore, this individual in rural Pennsylvania has a whopping $57 left to put towards their HSA for their high deductible insurance plan, dental or vision insurance, retirement, home internet, phone, or any other additional expenses that may come up. In other words, this poor individual will be living paycheck to paycheck just to afford the necessities, even on a generous $15 an hour wage. It's also worth noting this assumes 40 hours a week, which is actually above the full-time average in the US. If someone can't afford to live on $15 an hour in rural Pennsylvania, how could someone afford to live on this wage in more expensive parts of the country? Now, you may be wondering if anybody even makes this little money. Unfortunately, it is quite common. Here are a few local job postings in the area paying at or below $15 an hour, and you may be surprised at some of the titles. Sadly, $15 an hour isn't even the floor for many people, especially those trying to kickstart their career. So, there you have it. Is $15 an hour a living wage in rural Pennsylvania? From what I can gather, the answer is a hard no, even with living below your means. Of course, if you're willing to walk or bike miles every day just to get around, in theory it can be done, but this is likely the only way. Oh, and by the way, good luck out there when there is 6 inches of snow on the sides of the roads. Cheers.